Hey everyone, me Sting here, though I've been lurking for a while. Never thought I'd be the guy typing out a story like this, but life has a real knack for throwing you off the tracks when you least expect it. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, Leah, 31F, for 6 years. We've been together for 8. If you'd asked me a few months ago what our relationship was like, I would have said solid. Not fairy tale perfect, but real and stable and warm. She's kind, generous with her time, teaches 3rd grade, volunteers at an animal shelter on Saturdays, and bakes banana bread for our neighbors just because. She's one of those people everyone just likes. I've always felt lucky to be her husband. I still kinda do, which makes this whole thing even harder to process. We'd had our ups and downs like any couple. Money stress during COVID, a miscarriage 2 years ago that almost broke us, and just the general grind of life. But we came through stronger, or so I thought. We bought our first home last year in a quiet little neighborhood. Things were finally looking up. We were even talking about trying for a baby again this summer. So when I say I didn't see it coming, I mean not at all. There were no screaming fights. No icy silences. No weird texts or nights she didn't come home. Just the slow, almost imperceptible shift in her presence. But I didn't question it, because she's Leah. Because she doesn't lie. Because cheating was something other people did. I was wrong. I'll share more in the next post. Right now, I just need to catch my breath. Alright, back again. Thanks for the kind words and DMs on part 1. Seriously, it helps. So, how did I find out? It started with little things that didn't even register at first. Leah began taking more Ubers and cabs than usual. At first, I chalked it up to her being tired after work, or not wanting to deal with parking downtown when she met friends for happy hour. Totally reasonable. Then I noticed she had a new habit of getting dropped off a block or 2 away from our house. I once joked, "Trying to get your steps in?" And she just laughed and said the driver had taken a weird route, and she didn't want to make it awkward by correcting him. Again, I believed her. Why wouldn't I? But then came the odd late-night texting. She's never been super glued to her phone, but suddenly she was clutching it more closely, screen tilted away. When I asked who she was talking to, she'd say it was someone from the animal shelter about a fundraiser, or a parent from her class. All of which made perfect sense, except it didn't feel right. The real breaking point came one Saturday when she told me she was going to a teacher's workshop across town. Normally she carpools with a colleague, but she said she'd just take a cab because the other teacher canceled. Again, sounded normal. But I had this itch I couldn't shake, something about the way she said it felt rehearsed. So I did something I'd never done before in our marriage. I checked her phone. And yeah, I know, that's a violation of trust. But my gut was screaming at me, and I needed to know. Her texts were mostly clean. Almost too clean. But in her deleted photos folder, yep, the place people forget exists, I found a screenshot of a message from someone named Jay. The preview just said, "You left your scarf in the car again. Guess I'll have to make you come get it, smirking face. My stomach sank. I had never heard of a Jay. And the most messed up part? I recognized the name from a cab receipt she left on the kitchen counter 2 weeks earlier. Jay's Rideshare, a small-time independent cab driver. Not Uber. Not Lyft. She was seeing him. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. I just sat there on the couch for hours with that screenshot burning a hole in my brain. I wanted to be wrong. I wanted it to be a stupid misunderstanding. Spoiler, it wasn't. This one was hard to write. Still kinda feel like I'm floating outside my own life. So, after I found the message from Jay in her deleted photos, I waited. I didn't say anything right away. I know some people would have blown up on the spot, but honestly, I was numb. I needed to be sure. I needed to see if there was more to the story, or if it really was the story. I started paying closer attention. She had another ride scheduled for the following Thursday. She said she was going to a school board meeting and would be late. I offered to pick her up afterward. She said, "No, it'll be boring. Just go to sleep." So I didn't go to sleep. Instead, I drove to the school district office and waited. She never showed up. 2 hours later, I followed the location she had on Find My Friends, something we'd set up years ago during a road trip and never took off. She was at a Holiday Inn off the highway. I sat in the parking lot like an idiot, hoping I got it all wrong. Then I saw her walk out. Not alone. Jay was with her. Big guy, beard, wore one of those flannel jackets that looked 2 sizes too small. He walked her to the car, kissed her. Not a friend kiss. Not even a "this is new and exciting" kiss. A familiar one. I don't remember much after that. I didn't get out of the car. I couldn't. My hands were shaking too badly to even start it up. I waited until they left, then drove home in silence. I confronted her the next morning. She came downstairs, cheerful like nothing had happened. I said her name, and she looked up at me like I was a stranger. I held up my phone, the screenshot, the location, everything. She froze. Then she sat down on the edge of the couch and whispered, "Okay." That's all she said at first. "Okay," I said. "So it's true?" She nodded. And then, she started crying. Not dramatic soap opera crying, but the quiet kind that hits harder. The kind where someone looks like they're falling apart from the inside out. "I didn't mean for it to happen," she said. I asked her how long it had been going on. 4 months, she said. "Maybe 5. It wasn't supposed to be anything." I asked, "Why him? Who is he?" And that's when things took a weird turn. She met Jay when her car broke down on the way home from school. She called a random local cab company because her phone was dying, and he was the only one who picked up. He drove her home, they talked. She said he made her feel seen. Seen. That word burned. He asked questions. He remembered the answers. He listened. I didn't expect anything to come from it, but I started calling his cab instead of Uber. I don't know why. I liked how I felt around him. It wasn't about sex, she said. Not at first. It was emotional. Then it got physical. Then it got complicated. I asked if she loved him. She said no, but not quickly enough. Hey again. Appreciate everyone still reading. I didn't think writing this out would be so therapeutic, but here we are. Buckle up. This part was where things really started to unravel. After Leah admitted everything, the house went quiet. You ever experienced that kind of silence where it feels like even the air doesn't know what to do with itself? That was our living room. I didn't yell. I thought I might. But it felt like the anger was trapped somewhere beneath the shock. Instead, I asked the only question I could think to ask. So what now? She didn't answer right away. Then she said, I don't know. I didn't think this far ahead. And that right there? That was the moment it hit me. This wasn't some secret plan to run away with Jay or some epic midlife romance. This was a train she got on without a destination. She admitted she never told Jay she was married. He didn't even know I existed. That threw me. I expected him to be some sleazy guy knowingly wrecking homes. But she compartmentalized her life so well, he thought she was single. She told him she lived with a roommate. Spoiler, me. I didn't sleep that night. Neither did she. We sat in the same house, like ghosts in 2 different horror stories. I kept pacing, replaying every interaction we'd ever had through a new, awful lens. Every time she smiled at me, Was she also thinking of him? Every time we kissed goodnight, was she counting down to the next ride? And still, this is the part that messed me up, I missed her. She was sitting 10 feet away, wrapped in a blanket, quietly sobbing, and all I wanted was to hold her and tell her it'd be okay. That some part of the person I loved was still in there. What does that say about me? I asked her to leave for a few days so I could think. She didn't argue. She packed a bag, told me she was sorry a dozen times, and walked out the door. It wasn't loud. There wasn't a slam. But when the door clicked shut, something broke in me. I cried for the first time in years. Not just a tear or two, the ugly, can't breathe kind. Not because she cheated, but because something beautiful had been quietly dying for months, and I hadn't noticed until it was already cold. Okay, back again. Thanks to everyone who's been following this. Some of you have messaged me saying this sounds like a movie. Trust me, I wish it were fiction. Living through it has been like watching my life turn inside out in slow motion. So Leah left, and I was alone in the house. First couple hours were weirdly quiet, like the air didn't know what to do without her voice filling it. But then the quiet turned into noise. Mental noise. My thoughts were relentless. Was it my fault? Was she bored? Did I stop being enough? Should I have seen it sooner? What did he have that I didn't? I started obsessing. I'd stare at the couch and remember her watching Great British Bake Off there, texting God knows who at the time. I'd walk past her favorite mug and wonder if she had coffee with him too. Every little corner of the house started whispering doubt at me. I ended up crashing on the guest bed the first night. Our bedroom felt haunted. Not by her, but by the us that used to live there. I didn't tell anyone at first. Not friends. Not family. I was ashamed. Which is weird, right? She cheated, but I felt ashamed. Like it was some reflection on my ability to be a husband. A few days later, I cracked and told my best friend, Marcus. We'd been tight since college. He was the best man in our wedding. He listened, didn't interrupt, then just said, "Dude, I'm so sorry. But this isn't on you. You need to remember that." That helped more than I expected. Here's where it gets weird again. On day 3 of her being gone, I got a knock on the door. I opened it, expecting a delivery or maybe even Leah. It was Jay. Yep. The cab driver. Tall, broad-shouldered, nervous as hell. He looked like someone had dragged him there against his will. He said, "Are you her husband?" I just stared. Couldn't even get a word out. He said, "I had no idea, man. I didn't know she was married. She told me she had a roommate. I only found out yesterday when she told me everything and said she couldn't see me anymore." I stood there stunned. He wasn't aggressive. Wasn't defensive. Just honest. He said he came because he felt like he had to apologize. Said he never meant to blow up someone's life. And here's the part that really messed with me. I believed him. I told him to leave. Calmly. No yelling. Just, "Thanks for coming. Please go." And he did. No fight. No posturing. Just walked back to his busted cab and drove off. I watched him go thinking, how the hell did we end up here? This one's intense. I didn't think I'd still be so wrecked writing it, but here we are. Leah came back on the 5th day. She texted me in the morning. "Can we talk? I'm outside." I looked through the blinds. There she was, standing by her car, wearing one of my old hoodies she used to sleep in. Hair tied back. Eyes red. No makeup. Just her. Or at least, the version of her I used to know. I stepped outside and asked if she wanted to come in. She said no. Said she didn't want to blur any lines. That hit weirdly deep. We sat on the front steps. It was quiet except for some neighbor's lawn mower humming a few houses down. She started with, "I know sorry doesn't fix it, but I need to say it again. I'm so sorry." I didn't say anything at first. I just let her talk. She told me everything, or at least, I think she did. Said the thing with Jay started as comfort. That after her miscarriage, she felt like part of her identity had shattered. She didn't know who she was anymore. She said I was always strong, always trying to keep us going, and she didn't know how to reach me while she was falling apart. That one hurt. I asked, "Why didn't you talk to me?" She said, "Because you were hurting too. And you buried it. You got up, went to work, fixed the sink, folded the laundry. You were surviving, and I didn't want to make it worse. So instead, she turned to someone else. She swore it wasn't about him. That it could have been anyone who asked the right questions at the right time. He just happened to be the one holding the door when everything else in her life felt locked. She told me she ended it with him. That she told him the truth. That she didn't want him. That she wanted me, us. That she'd go to therapy. Couples therapy. Individual therapy. All of it. And then she said the words that broke me again. But I know I don't deserve another chance. I just had to say I'm willing to fight if you are." I didn't respond right away. Because here's the truth, I wanted to forgive her. And also, I wanted to never see her again. It was like my heart and my spine were in a tug-of-war. Part of me remembered the girl I married, the one who made pancakes in the shape of dinosaurs, who danced in the kitchen to no music, who held my hand during every doctor visit. The other part? Just saw betrayal. A quiet knife in the back. We sat there for maybe half an hour in silence. Eventually I said, "I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'll let you know." She nodded, stood up, and left. And for the second time in a week, I watched the woman I loved walk away, only this time, it felt like I was the one leaving. Appreciate all the DMs, comments, even the tough love ones. It's been a weird comfort knowing strangers are rooting for me, when I barely know what I'm rooting for myself. So after Leah and I had the talk, I took a full week to myself. No contact. I needed space like oxygen. I started journaling, never thought I'd say that, and I booked an appointment with a therapist. Not couples counseling, just me. I wanted someone to help me untangle the 100 different voices in my head. First session, I didn't even talk about Leah. I talked about me. About the miscarriage. About how I never really grieved, just became functional. I realized I had turned myself into this quiet engine of support, thinking that was what a good husband did. But in doing that, I accidentally became invisible. Not just to her, to myself. That was the first breakthrough. The second came a few sessions later, when I admitted something that scared me. I missed her. Even after what she did. Not in a forgive and forget kind of way, but in a there's still something real underneath the wreckage kind of way. The version of her who hurt me and the version of her I married, they were somehow the same person, and I couldn't reconcile it. Around that time, Leah sent me a photo of a note she wrote in therapy. It said, "I betrayed him when he needed me most. I don't want forgiveness unless it comes with his healing, too." I'll be honest. That messed me up. Because it didn't feel manipulative. It felt sincere. She wasn't begging. She wasn't trying to win me back. She was doing the work, whether or not I showed up. That's what made me agree to one joint therapy session. Just one. No promises. We sat across from each other in a circle of awkward eye contact and tissues. She told me how broken she felt after losing the baby, and how ashamed she was that Jay was someone who made her feel capable. Again, not of love, but of feeling anything at all. I told her how the betrayal made me question my worth in a way I didn't know was possible. How I felt erased. We cried. Both of us. There was no resolution, no magic fix. But there was honesty, the kind we hadn't shared in years. I left that session not with answers, but with a shift. It wasn't about getting back together. It was about deciding who I wanted to be next, and whether that version of me still had a place for her in it. This is where things start to feel clearer. Not easier, but clearer. After that first joint therapy session, I sat on it for a few days. I didn't reach out. Neither did she. We were both waiting, I think, for something inside to tell us which direction to walk. Then one night, around 2 a.m., I wrote her a letter. Not a dramatic, tear-stained, poetic kind of thing. Just honest. Just me. Here's a piece of it. I loved the way you used to say my name when you were excited. I loved how you'd fall asleep halfway through movies and deny it every time. I even loved how mad you'd get at squirrels stealing from our bird feeder. I still love those things, but I don't know if I still love you. Maybe I do. Maybe I just don't love the version of you who didn't tell me she was breaking. I'm not writing this because I know what I want. I'm writing because I finally know what I need. Space to forgive, but not to forget. To move forward, even if that means we're not moving together. I left it at her place the next morning. Taped it to her door. Walked away before she could see me. And here's the twist I didn't expect. The piece didn't come from her reading it. It came from writing it. Something about saying all those things. Not in a fight. Not in desperation. Just in clarity. Gave me back a part of myself that I thought her betrayal had taken. She texted me later that day. Just, "Thank you. I hear you. I'm here when you're ready, no matter what ready looks like." And I believed her. That was the day I made my decision. Not to go back. Not to run away. But to pause. To rebuild me before I decide whether we could ever exist again. I told her I didn't want to divorce yet. I also didn't want to reconcile. I asked her to give me 6 months. No pressure. No expectations. Just time. To grieve. To grow. To see what kind of man I am without this pain wrapped around me. And she agreed. So that's where we are now. 2 people who loved each other once, sitting in the aftermath, trying to see what love means when the fire's already burned through. If you've been following since the start, just know I read every comment. Even the tough ones. Especially the ones that say, "You're doing better than you think." That line sits with me on the hard days. So, after I made the decision to pause, to not reconcile, not divorce, just exist, the ripple effect started. I finally told my family. I expected my sister to be furious. She's always been the protective one. But her response surprised me. She said, "People make mistakes, but they don't always get the privilege of a second version of you. Make sure she earns it." My dad was quiet. He grew up in a time where men didn't really talk about this stuff. But when I told him what happened, he just said, "Son, forgiveness doesn't mean pretending you weren't hurt. It just means you're tired of carrying around someone else's choices." Damn. My friends had all kinds of reactions. Some thought I was being too soft, others respected the space I was giving myself. One friend actually admitted his wife cheated on him 2 years ago, and he never told anyone. We ended up talking for hours. There's this weird fraternity of the blindsided. You don't realize how many people are part of it until you say the words out loud. Meanwhile, Leah kept doing the work. She started seeing her therapist twice a week. She stopped texting me unless I reached out first. She even sent me a screenshot of a message she sent to Jay telling him she wouldn't be in contact again, not even as a friend. I didn't ask her to do that. She did it on her own. I started to feel weirdly grounded. Not happy. Not sad. Just settling into myself for the first time in years. I picked up old hobbies. Started running again. I even took a solo trip to a cabin up north for a weekend, just to sit with my own thoughts. No distractions. Just me, nature, and way too many spiders. Here's something I have learned in this in-between phase. Grief isn't linear. One day you'll feel okay, and the next, you'll smell your partner's shampoo on a hoodie and feel like your chest's caving in. Healing is circular. It loops back until you finally spiral out of the pain and into something like clarity. That's where I am now. Not whole, but becoming. And slowly, I'm starting to see that this version of me, the one who knows his worth, knows his wounds, and isn't afraid to feel them, he might be the best version I've ever met. It's been a few months now since everything exploded. Feels both like yesterday and like a different lifetime. Writing this series has been like pulling glass out of my skin, painful, but necessary. Here's where things stand. Leah and I still talk, but it's cautious. Respectful. No more late-night confessions or heart-wrenching apologies. She's still going to therapy. Still working on herself. She even joined a support group for women dealing with post-loss trauma. She's doing the work. And so am I. I've continued therapy. Started journaling almost daily. Rebuilt my routines from the ground up. I stopped defining myself as a guy who got cheated on, and started asking who I wanted to be regardless of anyone else. About 2 weeks ago, Leah asked if we could meet for coffee, just to talk. I agreed. We met at this tiny bookstore cafe we used to visit when we first started dating. It was weirdly poetic. She looked peaceful. Not because everything was fine, but because she wasn't pretending anymore. We didn't talk about us. We talked about who we'd become. She told me she understood if we never found our way back to each other. That if this pause ended in goodbye, she'd still be grateful for the years we had. I told her I hadn't made a final decision yet. But I also told her this. You're not the same person who hurt me. And I'm not the same person who stood there stunned on the porch that night. I don't know if we belong together anymore. But I know I don't hate you. I know I want us both to find peace, even if it's apart. And she smiled. Not sadly. Just genuinely. So that's where it is. Not a fairy tale ending. Not a dramatic breakup. Just two people walking through the ashes, trying to see what can grow.